branded the scarlet letter of the 21st century. In America, justice is often depicted as blindfolded, weighing guilt with impartiality. Yet the reality is far more complex, particularly for those branded with the indelible mark of a felony conviction. The criminal justice system, intended to rehabilitate and reintegrate, often serves as a gateway to a marginalized existence, trapping individuals in a cycle of poverty and social exclusion. What's even more alarming is the ease with which this label is assigned, even for minor offenses that bear little resemblance to the gravity of the consequences. The rise of felony charges for offenses once considered misdemeanors is a disturbing trend. Drug possession, petty theft, even unpaid traffic tickets can lead to a felony conviction, permanently altering the trajectory of a person's life. This punitive approach fails to acknowledge the societal factors that often contribute to these offenses, such as poverty, lack of opportunity, and systemic racism. Instead, it perpetuates a cycle of punishment that disproportionately impacts marginalized communities, further entrenching existing inequalities. Beyond the courtroom, life in the shadow of a felony. The true cost of a felony conviction extends far beyond the courtroom walls, casting a long shadow over every aspect of an individual's life. The label felon becomes an inescapable mark, shaping perceptions and limiting opportunities in profound ways. For many, it signifies a loss of basic rights and freedoms, relegating them to second-class citizenship. The stigma attached to a felony conviction can be insurmountable, creating barriers to employment, housing, education, and even personal relationships. Imagine applying for a job, only to be met with suspicion and rejection upon disclosing your criminal record, or seeking a place to live, only to be denied housing based solely on your past. These are the harsh realities faced by millions of Americans living with felony convictions. They are often denied access to public assistance programs, further exacerbating their struggles to rebuild their lives. This exclusionary system perpetuates a cycle of poverty and despair, making it nearly impossible for individuals to escape the shadow of their past. Economic exile, closed doors, and financial hardship. The economic impact of a felony conviction is perhaps the most enduring and far-reaching consequence. It's a cruel irony that while individuals with criminal records are often encouraged to find employment as part of their rehabilitation, they face significant barriers to doing so. The stigma attached to a felony conviction can be a major deterrent for potential employers, who may be hesitant to hire someone with a criminal past. This reluctance is often rooted in unfounded fears and stereotypes, rather than an objective assessment of an individual's skills and qualifications. The consequences of this economic exclusion are dire. Without access to stable employment, individuals with felony convictions struggle to support themselves and their families. They are more likely to experience poverty, homelessness, and chronic unemployment. This financial instability can have a ripple effect, impacting their physical and mental health, as well as their ability to access healthcare and education. The lack of economic opportunity perpetuates a cycle of poverty and despair, making it incredibly challenging for individuals to reintegrate into society and become productive members of their communities. Navigating the complexities of the legal system can be a daunting task for anyone, but it's particularly challenging for individuals facing felony charges, many of whom are already disadvantaged by poverty, lack of education, and systemic racism. The right to legal representation is enshrined in the Constitution, yet the reality is that many defendants, particularly those from marginalized communities, are forced to rely on overworked and underpaid public defenders who lack the resources to provide adequate representation. This disparity in legal representation creates an uneven playing field, where the outcome of a case can often depend more on the quality of one's attorney than the strength of the evidence. The lack of adequate legal counsel can have dire consequences, leading to wrongful convictions, excessive sentences, and a perpetuation of the cycle of mass incarceration. Moreover, the legal system itself is rife with biases that disproportionately impact people of color, particularly Black and brown communities. From racial profiling and discriminatory policing practices to harsher sentencing guidelines for certain offenses, the system is often stacked against marginalized groups, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and incarceration. This lack of fairness and equal protection under the law undermines the very foundations of our democracy. The human cost of mass incarceration and the enduring stigma attached to a felony conviction demand a fundamental shift in our approach to criminal justice. We must move away from a system focused solely on punishment and retribution towards one that prioritizes rehabilitation, reintegration, and restorative justice. This requires a multi-pronged approach that addresses the root causes of crime, provides meaningful opportunities for redemption, and dismantles the systemic barriers that prevent individuals with felony convictions from leading fulfilling lives. We must start by reconsidering our approach to sentencing, particularly for non-violent offenses. Alternatives to incarceration, such as drug treatment programs, mental health services, and community-based rehabilitation programs, have proven to be more effective in reducing recidivism and promoting reintegration. Investing in these programs not only offers a path to redemption for individuals, but also strengthens communities and reduces the overall cost of crime. Furthermore, we must address the systemic biases that plague our legal system, from discriminatory policing practices to racially disparate sentencing guidelines.